This is the Virtual Solar Pro Podcast with your host, Jarrett McAllister.
What's up and welcome to the Virtual Solar Pro Podcast. I am your host, Jarrett McAllister, and I got to say, it feels good to be back in the studio with you guys. It's been a few weeks. Last month, we went to SolarCon, Salt Lake City, Utah. A bunch of us and the team went out there. It was incredible. We were out there for about 5 days, 3 days being SolarCon, networking with, leaders in the industry and masterminding. So cool. We went snowboarding while we were out there, team building. And what was awesome is we actually rented this 7,500 square foot Airbnb pretty close to downtown. And one of the gentlemen who shared the Airbnb with us, I got to know him a little bit. And I said, dude, I have to have you on the podcast. This guy's an absolute stud. Just like myself, he started knocking on doors at the age of 14. He has like over 10,000 doors under his belt. He started off at 14. Check this out. He was hustling door to door, painting addresses on curbs for donations, right? Then he got his friends to start working with him, building up a little crew. He moved to other door-to-door offerings, including whole home energy retrofits. And then he eventually found himself in the solar industry, where he now has over 300 installations. Since 2018, he has earned multiple six figures a year and has amassed, check this out, 7 figures purely from a referral-based business. He's now currently serving as the chief sales officer for Dream Team Coaching and Consulting, and is taking his innovative approach to sales leadership across the nation with his Go Green sales organization. This guy, he isn't just another sales genius / guru. He's a cool ass dude, and now someone I consider a friend, Mr. Jonathan Charles Wilson. What's up, bro? Welcome to the podcast.
Dude, stop, man. Stop. Seriously, stop. Yeah, no, that was awesome, man. Love that introduction. Yeah, basically you hit it on the head. I started off door knocking, started doing the hustle. Then I had no idea at that time at 14 that, direct sales was even a professional career path. I had no idea that was a thing. Always was interested in business, entrepreneurship, read books about it, again, doing sales. I understood fundamentally sales was the most important skill that I needed to have to be in business. So I just became a student very young. I'm 32 years old now. I've been in the direct sales game for literally over half my life. About 18 years now. And yeah, now I'm at a place where I'm finally getting, I'm living the dream, right? Living the dream with Dream Team Coaching and Consulting. Me and my buddy, Matt Crowther, started up our brands literally about a month ago. Still getting everything going. Got our first 5-figure client. We'll have it at 6 figures probably in the next month here, just coaching companies on how to implement these referral systems, tried and true systems. I've been doing this referral based, like you said, for 6 years. Since 2018 was my first year, going 100% referral, and, haven't looked back, and hope to share some of those nuggets with your audience here today.
Dude, that is wild. God, there's so much to unpack right there. Let's start back at the beginning, because I'm actually genuinely curious of the startup, right? 14 years old. You said you were going door to door. You had this idea. Did you come up with this idea of like painting addresses on people's curves?
I appreciate you going a little deeper on that. Yeah. That one's kind of easily brushed over. It's been so long, but what happened was, my parents had moved me and, my uncle and his family had also moved out to Southern California. And so both of our families moved from Ohio. We're originally from Columbus, Ohio area. And my parents moved me out to Upland, California when I was, 13 years old. And that first year that we were there, basically from 13 to 14, that summer break before I started as a freshman at Upland High School, parents said, hey, we're going to send you to stay with your Uncle Kenny for a month. He needs some help around with his business and doing some stuff. And it'll be a fun, month getaway kind of thing with my younger cousin, Jason. And, me and him both flew out for a month and helped my Uncle Kenny. We poured concrete, built his, wood flooring in his house. He had us do all those kinds of odd jobs as, teenage boys. Then he goes,
Cheap
hey,
manual labor.
yeah. Just bringing your nephews from out of state, traffic them in.
Exactly.
So
No matter. Calling up his sisters like, hey, bring your kids over. I got some work I need done around the house. And they were like, you mean you don't have to have any kids for a month? Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
all yours.
And it was cool because my uncle, he's not that much older. He's about a decade older. And so at that time, he was only in his late 20s and he was kind of getting his hustle started. He had a gutter cleaning company and some other kind of service businesses that were just started. And so he just had a new house. He had a baby on the way, which he now has 5 kids. And his oldest one that originally was around whenever he was born, is now a senior in high school, So it's just crazy. Literally 18 years later, to see, my cousin, who's now a fully grown 18-year-old man, he just added me on Facebook the other day. I feel old, man.
That's wow.
I remember we knocked doors that summer. I was 14. Basically, my uncle said, hey, look, here's what we'll do. He's like, I'll give you this, kind of throwaway phone. You can call me once the sun goes down and meet me back at this spot. I'm just going to teach you a real quick script. He took us out for like 10, 15 minutes. And basically just told us, don't deal with anyone's bullshit. If anyone gives you a hard time, just don't worry, just keep going. He kind of taught us in like a really short form, like some of these resilience things it requires. And it was a basic script. It was, hey, my name is Jonathan. I'm in the neighborhood painting the addresses on your curb. We're going on donations, whatever you feel comfortable giving. And then I would just turn and walk. And if they would be like, no, we don't want it. Okay, fine. Or if they're like, they didn't stop me, I would just go paint it. And yeah, people give you $5, 4 quarters, $20. You get random donations, but mostly they were $5 to $10. And it took 2 or 3 minutes to paint the curb. And so I remember that first night we went out, I was 14, my cousin Jason was 12. And we're both pretty tall, at 6 foot tall, adolescent, kids. And we were like 4 or 5 hours. We went out, I think it was like a Saturday or something, and came back with over $200 cash in our pockets. And we felt like kings because these were like 1s and 5s and 10s were like the biggest bills typically. And so we just had, literally stacks of cash, in our pockets, and we were thinking we were rich,
You were. You were rich.
So rich.
John, how old are you?
32.
You're 32. Okay, so I'm 8 years older than you. Okay, so was this like early 2000?
So this would be 18 years ago. This would be 2006. Yeah.
Okay.
So 2000.
Yeah, you were still rich back then, man. I mean, at that age, with a couple $100 in your pocket, you're probably getting yourself a new PlayStation. Your eyes are wide open. You're like, the only thing that can stop us is running out of houses to paint numbers on the street.
Exactly. So we started. I mean, I did all of Upland, all of Claremont, all of Laverne, all of San Dimas, like for like 4 cities. These are big cities. These are cities that have over 100,000 people in them for people who don't know about Southern California. These are huge cities, 100,000 plus people cities. They're suburbs for us, but in most other parts of the country, it would be like a city, big city. And I mean, I had like 4 or 5 guys that I just kind of rotated through high school that I was friends with, and kind of whoever was my best friend at the time, got nominated to come out and knock doors with me. And I just, hey, you want to make a couple $100? And they'd be like, whoa, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, I just need somebody to go out with me and paint addresses. It gets really lonely out there, so I'm willing to split it with you if you come with me. And they're like, sure, I'll take 50%. So I'd take them out there and we would knock, and I usually decide I'll take the other side. And we didn't have any advanced strategies. We didn't know, our scripting was basic. It was nothing crazy. We found out like really early on, I found out basic strategies like, oh my gosh, from like 7 to 8 p.m. is money zone. Like you could just knock in that 1 hour and make all your money for the day. You would learn like things like, for instance, Saturday mornings at like 10 a.m. to like 1 p.m. You knock in those times before people start their weekends. They're starting to turn on the lawnmower. They're starting to get out there. They're starting to just wake up and get going. you catch people. And here's another secret. We don't work on Sundays typically, but if you
Well,
want to be a
church.
volume, Sunday afternoons are ridiculous for knocking doors. I would go out on a Sunday. I kind of got savvy at a young age and go, well, shoot, if I just go out and knock on a Sunday evening, I can make, $200 to $300, and I'll make that if I were to knock 1, 2, or even 3 weekdays and spend a lot more time. And so I just started kind of figuring the hacks out, doing all that stuff at a young age. And it wasn't until later I realized, wait a minute, this can actually be a career. Yeah. So
Man, dude, that is classic. I freaking love it because I mean, I love the hustle. I love the hustle, and I love it at a young age. I think it's so cool that you're like, yeah, basically whoever was my best friend at the time was coming with me, and we were making money together.
yeah.
I
And
got you in on this.
I didn't know it was like recruiting that was his thing, or I didn't know any of these things, right? I just knew that like I wanted to go out and make some money, because here's the thing. My parents, like, they had, decent money. It was like they basically, their mentality was, look, we put a roof over your head, we put food in your belly, and you got a couple pairs of clothes. They're decent. Yeah, they're not designer, but they're clothes. Be happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, well,
Sure.
I want Levi's, or I want, a cell phone, and I want to be able to text girls, I want to be able to, do that stuff. And those are huge motivations. Like early on, yeah, I got my PlayStation right off the bat, all my tech that I wanted right off the bat. I got my phone. And then my parents like kind of couldn't tell me. They're like, hey, you're on your phone a lot. I'm like, so I pay for my phone. You know what I'm saying? I run things around, So I
Dude,
started,
seriously.
I,
I mean, that making a couple $100. I mean, you're making more than some people's parents at that time. In
well,
certain,
that's what my parents, even like, again, they would usually, my money is my money. They wouldn't take my money or anything, but they would be like, hey, can we, borrow $100 for some groceries or something? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Here's $100. Like, so it was cool to have a little extra cash to help the family. Like when we needed a little, like, it was small things, nothing crazy, but yeah, it was nice as a, to have that and I think that set the standard. And I remember it caused kind of issues in my family, as kind of weird as it sounds. So both of my parents are the oldest of 8 kids, and I'm the firstborn for both of them. So I'm the oldest grandkid on both sides of huge families, right? And so I always say I'm the experiment of two experiments, right? Their parents didn't know what they were doing. My parents don't know what they're doing. I'm the firstborn. And so they get critiques from the plebeians. No, they get critiques from uh, the lower status, second and third and fifth and seventh and eighth born kids. Who cares what they have to say, right? Now they basically start chiming in and they say, hey, why are you letting Jonathan go out and make 25, $30 an hour at such a young age? You're setting a really bad expectation for what kind of money he's going to make as an adult. And I remember my dad defended me. Yeah, my dad jumped in and he goes, well, I want him to have unrealistic expectations of what kind of money he's going to make as an adult, and luckily he always defended that entrepreneur spirit.
yeah, that's weird. That's totally like that different mindset, different mentality. It's almost like that rich dad, poor dad mindset, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
like set him up for failure. He's only going to end up with a $12, $15 an hour job when he gets older. And, you know, your father though had your back
He
and,
did.
saw something in you and said, man, no, this kid can be whatever he wants. And
Yeah.
who am I to stop him? Yeah, I mean, I made really good money as a kid. I started off,
Yeah.
hustling magazine and newspaper subscriptions, 13, 14 years old. So I can get my first PlayStation and Final Fantasy 7, right? Like that was my goal. And then I was making good money. And then we were doing newspaper subscriptions and I had a little crew in a van and I was making good money. And it's like, I had high expectations for myself. We didn't come from money, right? We needed, if I wanted something, it was up to me to make it happen. And so, but yeah, I would never settle for less than because of that. And it's weird to have like family members hating on you like that. Like, no, you shouldn't let him thrive like this. They were just haters.
They were just haters, and it was interesting because a lot of cheese are tunes now, and it's interesting. I've heard this kind of notion in sales. I haven't really dealt with it a lot. I think probably for a few different reasons. Like, anyways, like I hear this thing in sales where people go, yeah, like you get hate from family members. So I felt a little bit of that, I guess, in a certain way at a young age, but like, I haven't gotten that in a long time. And maybe just because I've been doing sales for 18 years and I'm, pretty decent at it. So it's like, I just don't get that kind of feedback anymore. But I think when people are starting in sales, I think that's like a common thing where your family, like if you don't have any track record yet in sales and you get into it and maybe you get hyped up on something and you start doing it and then your family's kind of looking at you like, yeah, no, and they're kind of like throwing doubt. I don't think that's a super uncommon thing. I think that's actually something that happens, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is. It's like people get fired up with the idea with sales because you can make a ton of money in sales, and they get all excited and enthusiastic, and then people
Yeah,
just shit on their dreams. So you
right.
can't do that. It's not going to happen like that. You're going to fail. It's like, who the fuck are you?
Right.
Like, why would
No,
you
and it's
say that
even
to me?
people's parents, like I'll say it here. So my cousin Jason, we're, best friends, and his parents have at different times, and they love him and care about him. And I think he's one of the most talented, naturally gifted, kind of has the sales strengths, the potential for sales more than almost anybody I've ever seen, just raw talent, raw ability. And, they finally, I think his parents are supportive, and I think, for the most part, but he's kind of had some resistance. And I'm like, dude, like, to shut out that noise, man. Shut out all that noise. Like that doesn't, at the end of the day, like me and you both know who you are, and you're not going to be happy, punching the clock every day. You're not going to be happy. Like certain people are able to do that and have that type of endurance and like that type of it's a strength in a certain way, but also like for me, I've had moments throughout my career, my life where I can produce really crazy performances where people are like, wait, what? You did what? And then I'll go into periods of time where I'm just like lazy. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just like
Sure,
I'm
sure. It
not
happens to all of
I'm
us.
yeah,
Rest
I'm
on your
just
laurels a little bit.
you rest on your laurels. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, and so for me, like even at this phase, I'm coaching. That's the new game I'm getting into, right? And it's interesting because during that whole time I just described to you, knocking doors, out here in Southern California, my dad was actually starting up a seminar company called Courage to Dream Big Seminars. My dad's been a producer his whole life, like a video producer, but really just a producer in general, not just videos, like large scale productions and coordination of, kinds of all sorts of things he's done his whole life. And anyways, he had this seminar business throughout high school that he was trying to get off the ground. Well, it never ended up taking off, but funny enough, it was called Courage to Dream Big Seminars. That was the name of it, right? And I got to meet some incredible people. I remember he introduced me to this guy named Jesse Martin, who at the time was 18, but he was actually the youngest person to ever sail around the world. He did it at the age of 14. This little Australian kid by himself, solo on a sailboat. Took him 12, almost like 12 or 13 months by himself. All the food he needed for 13 months in a camcorder, and sailed around the entire world on a sailboat.
No
You know?
way.
So I got to meet this guy. He's in the Guinness Book of World Records, and I'm meeting him out in Venice Beach with my dad, getting to meet these incredibly inspirational people. Because that was the idea of these seminars, is to bring in these people who are just doing crazy, amazing, inspiring things. And so I saw that. I saw him go through the challenges. He ended up never declaring bankruptcy. Always been proud of him for that. He's like, no, I took on this debt. I'm going to pay it. And so, it's taken him, years to kind of pay off some of the debts that were created from that, that vision. But, now here we are again, my buddy and my manager, close friend, Matt Crowther, and I just branched off and started up Dream Team Coaching and Consulting. And I think it's going to be a huge success. I think we're going to add a ton of value. We can dive into some of those stuff, to give some freebies away here, right? Share with some of the things we found, and how we're able to really, we're making it into a system where we're coaching, sales reps and organizations on how do you implement referrals into every part of your sales process in your overall business strategy. And so it's been fun. That's kind of been the new challenge lately, is like, okay, we have like an overview, a slide deck, coaching questions, framework, metrics for tracking. We have some of those things in place, but like developing the full curriculum, so it can eventually be like a digital course. That's probably the next step. But yeah, that's kind of where I've gotten to now. I would say like high performance selling is referral selling. If you want to be the highest performance at your sales game and whatever you do, doesn't matter if it's solar or whatever, the highest paid, highest performing salespeople are referral based. Bottom line. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just jump right into it. I mean, we're here and
Yeah.
let's talk about referrals. And I mean, I heard you talking about it, and some other people were like, dude, yeah, Jonathan Wilson, man, he's got this like crazy referral system. I'm like, yeah, it's referrals. What, he asked for referrals at the end of the sale? Like, and then people were like, don't we all ask for a referral? Actually, some of us don't,
Some don't,
it's like, or like, oh, during the sale, we set up the referral and like, hey, pull out your pen and paper. And like, I know I've been in sales for 25 years and 1,000 meetings, and every single company is going to say, hey, pound for referrals, pound for referrals. Because referrals are like the best leads you can get. If you have a happy customer and they refer you over, you have such a higher chance of closing that lead if it's coming from a referral. So it's like they're the best leads are referrals.
Everybody knows that. So, I mean, if you think about the worst lead, just if you keep it simple, let's just break into 3 basic categories in the solar game. So the first basic category in the solar game is an online lead. There's lots of online lead generation, but we all know, anyone who's tried it is, even the reputable ones, even the top level ones, right?
Best of the best.
They're
still best. Shit.
You're still 15% average close ratio. If you're a really competent closer and you're working with a really competent lead generation source, 15%. Also, those people are statistically way higher likely to be shoppers. Those are the types of people, right, that are looking at 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 bids and so you're going to have to bring your margins down, right? So it's like, okay, not only low conversion, but low margin, and it's a race to the bottom. Everybody's racing to the bottom for price. And so it's like, okay, that's always been something that I think as anyone in sales, like there's an appeal. That'd be cool. Maybe that's the magic pill. People are just going to send me leads, but it's like, it's not, and then if you look at the next level, it's like, okay, well, you're a proficient door knocker, and obviously proximity is power. And if you're with somebody face to face, you're able to, be resilient and flexible and and just have a good pitch and, have consistency and knock enough doors, right, and do all the fundamentals, and boom, even if you have a terrible pitch. I've known guys that have pitches, like I was sharing a story the other day of this guy who was honestly, he was pretty dumb, like literally pretty stupid, like in a literal sense of the word. He actually was illiterate. He couldn't read or write, and he was a salesperson for our team. And that's like, I didn't know that at first. I just thought he was dumb. I just didn't know. But I'm like, okay, no, this guy. I just legitimately was like, okay, this guy, and I don't want to say his name at this point. Is already kind of
please don't. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't want you to say his name either.
But basically, this guy, I'll tell you what, this is the moment I respect this guy. He was doing terrible. He had the worst pitch ever. He would like knock on people's door and be like, hey, do you guys want solar? And I'm just like,
dude, I mean, it's straight up.
And
it's straight up.
All of a sudden started killing it like out of nowhere almost one day. And then I'm like, what the heck? I think everybody was wondering, what the heck is this guy doing? Like, we all thought he was going to be gone from the office. He gets up in front of the office and he goes, honestly, 2 things, man. He goes, honestly, like, 1, I'm just working the hours, I'm putting in the time. He goes, and you want the honest thing? The second thing is, I buy all my customers a Glock. Dude, the room got silent and I started dying laughing, dude. I literally squealed with laughter at how funny it was. And everyone else was like, is this guy serious? And I'm like, dude, mad fucking respect. Excuse me. This guy is so good. At that point, I'm like, he's a gangster. Like, he's just straight up gangster. He told his story later, kind of refined his story a bit. But yeah, he was a gangbanger. All of his friends are either in prison or dead. And he was on the streets. He had, didn't graduate, doesn't have the ability to read or write. He would just BS literally people. And he would get sales, and then he started figuring out, well, if I give people a Glock, I'm like, dude, I don't know. He's got the street mentality, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
he's like, what would convince me to get solar?
Exactly.
Oh, maybe if the dude came up to my house and offered me a G19 with, a 15 round mag and a box of ammo, I might consider, getting a free energy savings report.
Yeah, it kills me. It literally kills me when I tell the story, but it's true. I see like, okay, but that he converted probably at a higher rate than a lot of these online lead sources out there. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, you could hire. Is he around? Can we like hire him to generate leads for us?
He's actually a kick butt sales guy. Like he's got like everybody knows this guy now, and like he makes money, dude. He does well for himself. So
Man, if you didn't talk shit and call him stupid, I'd say
I
like, what's his name? But now he's just gonna have to be a mystery for the audience.
I mean I've joked him a little bit in person, and he's the first person that'll tell you. He'll be like, "No, dude, I'm just dumb, man." Like he's just but anyways, it is what it is. He's a cool guy, but I just found like, okay, you can door knock, you can have 30% close rate and just be knocking on a door,
Sure.
and that's gonna kill online. And then obviously referrals, like I started from the very beginning. So when I transitioned from what I was doing prior to 2018, which was whole house energy retrofits plus solar, so I was a full whole house energy consultant. And we would basically go, okay, yeah, you need more insulation, better windows, HVAC system, your ducting. We'd replace all that. Get them some rebates as well. They'd get like $3,000 to $5,000 back in rebates. And it was like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 retrofit, whatever the cost was. And we would, do hero financing or some other type of, home energy financing, right? And so then I went into the solar game and I'm like, this is such an easier sale. I was literally like, wait a second. You're telling me I can sell somebody a PPA, lock them in at that time it was tier one. Tier one was about 17 cents. I was like, I can sell them a 17-cent PPA, lock them in at their tier one. They're never going to pay tier two or tier three. It only goes up 2.9% and they have to pay nothing out of pocket. I could do referrals from day one. And that's exactly what I did. My first 10 deals with Vivint from April to June. So like they do a 60-day combine where you have to like kind of, do as much as you can that first period of time. And they give you like prizes and stuff. Well, 10 was like their top level. They give you like two tickets to this cruise to Mexico and all this kind of stuff. So I get the 10. The first 6 were from previous customers, from past clients that had sold other stuff too. I just called them up. Hey, there's this thing I want to tell you about. And I kind of started developing a little bit of a phone script and then just, started closing those first 6. Then I knocked on the neighbor of those first 6's doors and I got 4 of the neighbors to sign up just because I know how to knock doors and it's, it wasn't that hard when literally your trucks are at the house. I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, we're making noise next door. Do you know what's going on? And they're like, wait, what's going on? They start coming outside and boom, it's game over at that point. It's like, hey, I'll just be real quick. I need to come in and just jot down some notes, let you know what's happening right now in the neighborhood. And then they're like, okay, cool. And then I walk in and an hour later, I leave with the contract, their social security, their bank routing information, and a closed deal. And I'm like, it's a thrill. My hands are shaking. I'm like, this is a better drug than any drug. This is a thrill, And so I just got hooked. I've been hooked on the sales game my whole life, but that particular sale is just the next level. I think when you can same day a door knock solar sale, when they're agreeing to like a 25-year PPA agreement that escalates with all sorts of like areas where they could fall off the bandwagon. When you figure out how to get that good to knock on the door, close a deal same day, and like get referrals off of it, you feel like you're a sales god, right? At times. So I went through my cycles of ups and downs, my own ego and my own, my own struggles and all that. And I think one of the things that I found from the beginning is that first of all, I can tell you guys a ton of referral things not to do. That first year or so, I was getting referrals and they were shit. And I was like, why are they all shit? And for me, I had to go deeper. I knew there was a way to set it up that would be proper. But here's what I found. A lot of reps that have issues, they're like me in 2018 when I was just figuring it out. And they're like, oh yeah, like you said, I could just ask them, hey, if you guys like this program, if you guys are saving some money, like, do you know anyone else who might benefit? And like, just make an ask. Okay, that's an easy ask. Cool. So reps start asking and they start getting shit referrals. Like, honestly, that's what happens. They're like, well, I should just go back to knocking doors, or I should just go back to something else because they're not any better. They don't convert any better than any other type of lead.
And also, if you ask somebody like, is there anybody you can think of, their mind just goes out into the cosmos, right? Everywhere. And they're just trying to think of, is there anyone? But you got to paint a picture of who that person is.
Are you like, any of the neighbors in the area? Are you in any church or like kind of community groups? Do you have any family members that are nearby? It's like you start you get more specific on the questions. Then your follow-up strategy. The follow-up strategy is like majority of the strategy. The follow-up strategy is everything. We call that FU systems, FU money, follow-up money. And so if you want to be rich in the sales game, there's just, I think in the door knocking a lot, maybe not as much with the virtual, but I know in the door knocking game, if somebody wasn't signing up, you're on to the next door. You don't have time to mess around with people wasting your time. It's just kind of a turn and burn kind of a sale a little bit because of how it is. But yeah, you have to have a really good follow-up system. You have to have, strategies. So I'll give you an example. In December 2018, I had over 100 referrals in 1 month that came in. Over 100, like names and numbers that homeowners gave me that I signed up and they had solar with me. And I was like, oh, shoot, I'm about to be rich. You know what I'm saying? I'm in my head, I'm already counting the dollars right now. I'm thinking this is great. And I had been doing some referrals, I had been getting some success. And so this is the part that's crazy too. I think once you maybe have a little bit of success in referrals, you get this unconscious competence going and you don't even know why you got the referrals. I mean that genuinely, you get the referral, but you actually don't understand why. And so you can't repeat it. You're like, well, shoot, how did I get that one person to refer me 10 people, but everyone else doesn't want to hear me, And
so, are these unsolicited referrals, or are these I'm trying to get referrals and someone gave me 10, or
these are solicited,
and I'm trying and some people aren't giving me any, or is these hey, Jonathan, hey, I have a referral for you, and then they just keep referring you business?
Right. So exactly. Majority of people were the ones where I'm like, hey, do you know anybody? Or I start asking questions. Do you have anybody in your church groups? Anyone in the neighborhood? Right. And then I sit down with them and I start developing a system. This is early 2018. And so I have I have a little referral card and they can write it down. And I have it kind of a little bit of a system I'm starting to develop. And I start getting referrals. But then again, I start calling them and then they're just giving me oh, I didn't even know this person didn't tell me you were going to be calling. Or people would be like, oh, is this solar? Fuck you, fuck your, whatever. They get super irate, because solar is a trigger for people. And then I would then call them back and be like, no, wait, sorry. I'm working with so-and-so, your friend. And then they're like, oh, I'm sorry. And then now we're in a weird social dynamic because they kind of want to trust me, but they just cussed me out 2 seconds ago.
I just told you to go fuck yourself, but okay, I guess we could talk now.
Yeah. And then so it's I would still win some of those from time to time, but I just found out, I'm what am I doing? I'm setting myself up for failure is what I'm doing.
Totally.
Yeah. And I'm setting the customers up for failure. So I started learning basic systems, basic talk tracks, basic strategies, and then they started getting more and more advanced as time went on. And I've always kind of been refining it ever since. Okay, well, and then now I'm coaching people. How do you implement this into what you're already doing? You're already having success closing. You're already having people probably say, if you're listening right now and you do solar, you probably have people who've told you, right on the top of your mind, maybe recently, they say, hey, you know what, Jarrett, I actually really like working with you. I got a couple people in mind. I'm going to send you over those names and I want you to help them out. And you're like, okay, sweet. And then nothing happens, right? And then nothing happens, right? And we've all experienced that. If you're decent in sales, you're going to have people that want to refer you. Well, that's a good sign. But how do you turn people who don't even want to refer you into a referral partner, right? How do you turn people who aren't inclined to you're having to turn them into a partner? And yeah, you're going to get the low hanging fruit. You're going to get people who just want to refer you. But that's, even then I see people screw that up too. I'll tell you what, where your people want to refer you and then they don't have any referral system or process to capture that. Or they expect that the person that they're being referred is already sold. And so they kind of presume the sale and then they skip over steps, they get sloppy, and then they provide an inconsistent customer experience and then the referral chain dies. And then they're like, shoot, and they're not even aware, it's so I've had these things happen. I know these things, right? Because I've had these things happen and I'm constantly trying to up my own game and I'm going, okay, well, how do I turn 5% of customers who are salespeople? How do I turn that into 20, 25% of my customers to become ambassadors for me? Right? How do I take a non-salesperson that doesn't really want to, I would say 5% of the population or so is willing to sell it to their friends and family for $1,000.
Hey, with the way things are these days, might be more.
Right. But it's most people aren't money driven. I mean, they are, but they aren't, right? They would never be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna refer. That's kind of, and that's why a lot of people aren't in sales because they don't want to be in a dynamic with a family member where they're making money on something. It's a weird thing, and so one of the things that, one of the things that I'll do with, I like totally lost my train of thought there. With,
You're talking about like the pitfalls of like getting referrals and then not, or like basically
oh yeah,
you
like they're not,
getting lazy on the sales,
yeah,
and not giving them the same presentation, and then all of a sudden your referral chain dies,
yeah,
right?
exactly. And then also like I was saying like the 5%, like how do you get more than just the sales population to sell for you? So like I'll rattle off a couple of easy ones off the top of my head. One of the things that I don't see people doing that they could do is making promotional offers. So I'll explain what that means. So here's what'll happen. Let's say if you have some kind of a system and process, you start every single sale, you start pitching your referral program, you have a process, you do that. Okay, great. Well, that person might be motivated at the time of install or the time of sale or the time of PTO, but then that motivation is going to die,
It
right?
dies. Yeah.
And die super fast. And you have to be constantly top of the customer's mind. And think of it this way too. Everyone's dopamine driven. They're looking for that next little like excitement or whatever. And so what you want to do is you want to have, I say at least once a quarter, quarterly promotional offers. So whatever the season or the time of the year is, there's a promotional offer that's tied to that time of year. And so what I always do to kind of like, one of my strategies to like create business out of thin air, because people go, well, how do you just create business? Like, how do you just on a referral? So here's what I do. I'll pick up my phone and I'll look at right now I have a system in place. I just started doing a CRM and getting more advanced. Before I would just do this on a spreadsheet, but I have a spreadsheet of, past customers. And I go, you know what? I haven't, and it was on a gut feeling. Now it's on a system, but it would be on a gut feeling before. I'd just be like, you know what? Who did I really like working with and who seemed to like working with me? Right. That's a kind of a good
Whose
start.
install did I not fuck up?
Yeah, exactly. Right. You want to
Who
start with
went
the,
smooth?
yeah, we call that your happy place in solar. So me and Matt, we ran a squad together called the Happy Squad. And the premise was, I think it's like a Mike Tyson quote or something, is that nothing's more dangerous than a happy warrior. Right. And so I always say in really good door-to-door sales, or just sales in general, you kind of have to have a little bit of joy and anger mixed up. And we call that zeal. And zeal is really anger and happiness mixed. And whenever you bring that kind of an energy, it's pretty powerful. But anyway, so what I'll do is I'll hop on the phone with a customer, a past customer, and I'll say, hey Jarrett, how's it going? I just wanted to check in on you, see how your system's working, right? Always lead with service, right? That's number one.
Totally.
So you're checking in on how things, maybe whatever rapport you had, check on something on the family, right? I always say lead with service, build rapport again. How's this going, right? Have something to jog the last conversation you had. And then the third thing is, hey, real quick, while I have you on the call, Jared, I wanted to let you know our company's actually offering a special promotion this month, and I wanted to make sure that you were aware of it. So right now, anybody that you send over to me that's a referral that meets with me in the month of May, on top of that $1,000 referral fee that we're still doing, we're actually going to cover your friend or family member's first 6 months of Powur. Now, the only thing is they don't have to commit to doing this today. It doesn't have to be a right now thing, but as long as they're willing to at least send me their bill and schedule a time to sit down with me during this month, then we can at least reserve them for that promotional offer. And then they can make the decision whenever they're ready to move forward to get them going. So I'm doing that. Why am I doing that? Because I'm transferring the emotion, which is that there's something of value, but I'm removing buying pressure at every freaking level there. And so what are they going to do? They're going to transfer that energy to their friend or family. They're going to call them and they're going to say, hey, there's this thing. I know I've talked to you about solar. I know you didn't want to hear about it before. There's actually this offer right now. It's worth taking a look at. Anyways, he said he didn't even have to commit to doing it. Just send him your bill and then sit with them and just hear him out. And then we'll go from there, right? They're transferring that kind of a vibe. It's the more the energy they're transferring than what you're saying, I've learned. Because some people say, oh, what do you say? What's the script? And I have scripts and I have certain things that I say the same way every single time. But mostly what I found is it's what is the emotion you're trying to transfer at that particular time. And whenever I'm coaching somebody on how to give me a referral, I'm trying to make it the most low pressure, easy to do, kind of low resistance thing that they're going to do. So another strategy with that is put you on a group text message. I'll say, this is a line that I'll use almost every single time. So again, let's say you're the homeowner, Jared. I'll say, hey, Jared, I don't want to be that weird guy that cold calls your friends and family. Like that's just sounds like a terrible idea. So how about this? Just to make it a little bit easier, I found what works is putting me in a group text message with them and then introducing me there. That way they can respond at their own convenience. Right?
Like it.
So they're like,
No
oh,
pressure, no pressure, no
no,
pressure.
no pressure. The whole thing that I do is no pressure. I actually won an award in 2017 for no pressure sales for Train heating and cooling systems. I was the top no pressure sales guy. It's like you can be a really good sales guy and have literally no pressure through your sale, you know? So anyways, those are a
People
couple.
don't like to feel. People don't like to be pressured.
Nobody
The
does.
second you apply the pressure, I can't tell you how many homeowners that I've helped gone solar that they've met with other reps and had other consultations. One of the biggest complaints I get is, and this last guy, he was like pressuring me. I got to sign up now. I got to sign up now. And it didn't work, obviously. I mean, that's why they're talking with me.
Right.
And I'm so cool, laid back, and I'm so confident in like what I have to offer, the service and high level and quality. And I just had a homeowner yesterday. This is from a referral, and they want to do some shopping, right? You know, they want to do some shopping. They were like, "Hey, we're not ready yet. We're still waiting on a couple quotes. Do you mind?" And I replied back and I said, "Absolutely, no problem." I said, "I want you to get a few other quotes. I'm super easy. Let's touch base next week."
Yeah.
And just make it simple. Because could you imagine if I replied back like, "Actually, I do mind if you get other quotes." And you need to, yeah, like don't,
or something awkward back, like this is running out, like we got to do this report.
yeah, we got to lock in your price today or some shit like that. They'd be like, sorry. I mean, they're going to do their shopping. So you should just go with it and feel confident in what you're offering. And if you're not trying to like rip people off, you should be good.
Right, exactly. And it was tough. I mean, too, like what I was selling at that time is I was working with Vivint and Sunrun, and they're not, I wouldn't say a rip off, but they're, 20-30% higher than the rest of the market. They have high margins. And so, there was other cheaper products in the market. So, it was one of those things where like, I think the main thing, because I've had people, I'm sure you've had people too, they don't always go with you based on price, right? Because it's like prices and everything. I've had people say, you know what? I've actually had people who have not gone with me. I have one woman right now specifically who during NEM 2 to NEM 3, she went with the competitor for like $15 a month less. And I was kind of like, okay. I think I said something to her about it too. I was like, I'm kind of disappointed that, $15 basically was kind of what the relationship, I almost framed it that way. You know what I'm saying?
Like you
Danced
cheap
around
ass.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like come on, you know what I'm saying? And like I give her a little bit of a hard time, but at the same time, she likes working with me, and she's like literally I had 5-6 other people out and they didn't tell me a fraction of the stuff that you shared with me, and like you just educated me on a different level. And I'm like, awesome, that's what I take pride in. And so we became referral partners. I got 2 referrals last night from somebody that's from one of her referral chains that she's, had install. I think this is like her 7th or 8th install or so in the past year. So she's like a recent referral partner that's kind of starting to pick up some momentum. Because what happens is like
she's not even a customer.
She's not even a customer.
Those are the best. I mean, it's weird though, because when their friends go, "Oh, it's the person that did your solar," they're like, "Actually, no, it's not. But I think you should go with this guy. I'm really cheap. I wanted to save $15 a month, but if you want quality, go with Jonathan."
Well, and then this is the part that's been interesting too, because like now that I've switched over to Sonova, the pricing of Sonova is much more in line with SunPower, which is who beat me on that one, and who I've been beat on a few different times. So they kind of switched their model in the past year from being this high value company to selling cheap lease products. It's kind of weird, but yeah, I can now compete. Before I really couldn't even compete. If I were to go that low as what some of these competitive prices were, I would make nothing, because our margins were just too high. And so luckily now I don't have to worry about it as much, and the pitches had kind of shifted. But yeah, for her it was like she would tell them like, hey, you can get a quote from the other one that I got a quote from. But now that I know that they're getting a quote from SunPower, you think, I'm like, okay, well, shoot, I'm going to be ready. So I'm like, well, I know that she's advising her friends to get 2 quotes, one from me and one from this other one. But the difference is that she wants me to earn her like $1,000 off of each of her friends and family, because she's that 5%. She's in that 5%. She's a financial advisor. She likes money. She likes making money. All that. She goes to the Philippines and lives like a queen out there, I'm sure. And you can make great, on $1,000 over there.
You could live off of giving Jonathan referrals.
Yeah, exactly. You could live on that. And I have a lot, actually. I have a Filipino community that refers me a lot. And I think that's what a lot of them do.
You could tap into some of those markets. Some ethnic
it's
markets, I mean, are just gold mines, and they refer to their own. And if you can, and it doesn't even have to be ethnic. It could even be like my buddy Mike. He tapped into this police officer market in the Bay Area, right? He signed up one police officer. He referred 2 others. They got 3 more going, right? It's like once you're in, you're in.
You're in. I have a few little chains of firefighters over here.
Firefighters are great ones.
I have referral chains from contractors like HVAC and roofers who, they don't want to sell solar, but they want to make some extra money on the back end because they have trusted customer base. I do a lot with realtors. That's probably my most popular ones that I work with. Yeah, just doing like partner. And I always say there's different levels of the referral partnerships too. So that's the difference. Like I've switched to, now that I've joined the Powur squad, I've kind of switched to the 2-level mentality, which I wish to the enterprise team over at Powur is that they would allow us to have lead generators that we can set percentages of commission on, because they have. Is it coming?
I was on a leadership call this
Oh,
morning.
tell me.
And it's coming. Yeah, it should
There
be
we go.
Q2. Yeah, because rather than doing a flat fee, yeah, you're going to be able to offer them a percentage as a referral partner, which is great. Because right now, currently, the way we have it structured, for those of you listening, obviously I'm with Powur. I've been with Powur since 2019. Jonathan, you just recently saw the light. You hopped over, all in. But yeah, it's like we do the ambassador free, $1,000. Anybody can do that. Yeah, you enter and lead, $1,000. It's all good. Join Powur, do a tier 1 certification on the platform. You can enter a lead, and now when you refer, you're going to make 50% of the commission. Just an hour before we started doing this podcast, I was on a call with a girl, Tracy Canoni. She met a contractor who specializes in ADUs and additions. Because of Title 24 in California, solar is required to get your permits for all new construction.
Right.
And so these contracting companies, right, they're building ADUs and stuff, but they have to get the solar. Their client has to get solar in order to get the permits through. So, they're starting to, they're just referring it out or saying, hey, look up some solar companies. You're going to need solar for us to do this. Some of them are getting smart and they're like, I should be offering the solar.
Yeah.
Right? But this guy's a contractor and he sells ADUs and that's his department. But she talked to him at a networking event. We just got off a call and I explained to him, I said, hey, listen, we can literally be your solar arm. You could be on the platform. Your clients are going to get solar. You can enter them in. You can have a solar professional take them, present to your homeowners, take them all the way through the process, glass on the roof. And now you're going to earn 50% of the commission simply just by referring your client who's going to go solar anyways. You might as well start, getting rewarded for that. And he was like, shit, really? Seriously? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, I was like, you can take it as far as you can start selling solar. You can, but you may not want to do that. Like you might want to have your guys just focusing on what you guys do best. And that's fine. I said, whichever way you want to take it, but it just makes so much sense to do it.
Yeah.
So back to your point, the 2 levels, right? It's like you can either earn $1,000, doesn't cost you anything. It's simple, easy. I'll handle it. Or 2, you can be more involved and you can earn 50% of the commission. Which one do you want to do?
Well, and then I honestly was doing a 30% level before I joined Powur on my own. I was paying people out 30. And I mean,
and what was the difference? Like, what were you saying the difference was? Like, what would be the difference between them earning 1,000 or them earning 30% with you?
Yeah, so the difference between that was easy. For 1,000, it's just a text introduction, name, phone number, handoff. That's it. Like just that, I'll take the rest from there. If they want to become a 30% partner, then they have to do 2 things. They have to coordinate scheduling the appointment on my calendar. So I give them all a calendar link and say, hey, you can book me directly here. And then 2, you have to collect the electric bill for me and send me their electric bill, their name, phone number, email, so I can input it and, basically create the lead. Now it's different because they can do it on their end, with Powur, and they can just be a tier one seller. So I've been onboarding tier one sellers. I'm at 14 tier one and two sellers, mostly tier ones. But yeah, and so I've just been kind of switching to that route. But real quick,
And
something
then
you were saying.
I'll add one more tip to that. The
Yeah.
extra bonus is I would always say, hey, and then you need to be on the call because they have the relationship with them. And so now when it's you, the referral partner with the homeowner, it's that much better of a dynamic. There's more trust involved. It'd probably even help close sales even that much more.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I try to enroll them and yeah, when they're at tier one, yes, for sure. Yeah, when they're I think 1,000 before, I wouldn't really do that if it was just 1,000.
Sure.
If they're leveling up right to 30, 50%, I agree. I'll say that too. I'll just say, hey, I would love to like teach you more about it if you want to learn how to sell solar or just help be a part of the process. That it'll increase the chance that they're going to convert and feel comfortable. But yeah, I find that, yeah, some people just, they don't want to. They just want to be, as I call them, glorified lead generators, right? Where they just get thousands of dollars for just basically sending over some real basic info. So it's easy money. And that's what I tell people too. I'll say, hey, I want you. So here's a couple one-liners. One of the one-liners I'll say is, hey, Jarrett, officially, my goal for you is to create the best customer experience so you want to refer me to all your friends and family. Selfishly, my goal for you is to deliver such a great customer experience that you want to refer me to all your friends and family, right? It's like, that's something I'll say where like towards that part of the referral part where I'm like, and it's true. It's like, it is kind of selfish. Like I obviously I'm saying that because they know that I stand to benefit from that. But also too, it's like, hey, I'm going to go to work for you. I'm going to make these $1,000 referrals the easiest $1,000 you've ever made. And I'll say that just like, this is going to be the easiest $1,000 you've ever made. And then I'll coach them up. And so one of the other things that I found that a lot of people don't do when it comes to referrals is they don't really coach up their customers at all. They don't have any type of a system, any process. So I'll just give you kind of like my 3 basics for coaching up a customer. But generally it's like, well, first, when do you do it in the sale? Some people do it at the close. You can. I found it to be more effective, like close to install or even day of install is when I typically do this because they're already solidified. They're in. People have a different mentality where they're like, well, if I sell their friends and family and they're not to install yet, then, they're going to feel like they have to go to install. I'm like, I don't know. I've found the other way to be true. So anyways, I'll sit down with them at, day of install, let's just say. And, well, it's a lot of hype. They're excited. The install's happening. I'll knock on the door. They're usually welcoming me in like, oh, come on in, and they're all pumped. I'm like, hey, real quick, I wanted to actually sit down with you for a few minutes. The company's running a promotion right now for, we've talked about the referrals. Anybody that you send over, it's $1,000, but they're doing an additional promotion. If you actually give me just 5 names and numbers today, they're going to give you $100 just for covering basically like, for a little extra bonus for giving us those names and numbers before we even reach out. So it's like, okay, cool. But then I'll say something like this too. I'm like, and by the way, we're not going to be reaching out to any of these people right away. We're going to give it a couple of days after install, make sure, everything's good. And then we'll reach out. So I'll kind of like take off the pressure. I'll ask for the referral.
That way you're getting them now because you're there.
Yeah,
right.
I'm there.
But you're like,
hey,
but we're not going to reach out until we make sure everything's buttoned up with your project and
right.
you feel confident in referring. And then here's the other thing. It's like, you've already done the hard part. You've gotten the names and numbers.
Right.
But now that they've had a good experience, they feel good about referring. And now when you talk to them, you're saying, hey, Mary, I was just, your friend Susie just got her system installed. And it's that much more powerful because they're like, wow, they went through the whole process and now they got installed. It must be good.
And then I'll usually take my drone out that day and take a few drone shot photos and just something real basic. I'm not like a crazy editor producer like my dad is or anything. So I just, I'll just shoot a couple pictures and then I'll share those with the customer. And then I'll either give them a little bit of a template or just even just like, hey, just send this out to your friends and family when you tell them about your solar, like send them this picture. But here's the key. The key is the coaching part. So I'll say, hey, are you open to some coaching on how to make this a really effective referral to make sure that we get you as many $1,000 as possible? And they're going to be like, sure, because they've already agreed. They've already given you the names and numbers at this point, and you're not going to reach out to them today, but you're basically going to start coaching them on what to say to these people now that you have their names and numbers. So cool. Can I give you a little bit of coaching, some feedback? They go, oh yeah, sure. So I'll say there's three things that you really need to be aware of. The first one is, Jarrett, every single friend or family member you talk to is going to have the same questions and concerns that you had before you met me. So that's a one-liner that literally says to them, prepare for resistance in the market. Prepare for, oh yeah, we looked into it, didn't make sense, or yeah, we didn't want to spend 20 grand on solar. What, they're going to have their list of objections. And I'll even say that I'll just say, hey, look, just so you're aware, Jarrett, all your friends and family, they're going to have a lot of the same questions and concerns that you had before you met me, right? I say that same thing over and, it's like, because that's what's going to happen. Again, it sounds obvious, it sounds simple, but you need to say that, because here's what happens if you don't. If you don't prepare them for resistance, then they're going to go out, they're going to have their first level of resistance. Someone's going to say, oh yeah, no, solar, and they're going to get triggered, and then boom, they're never going to want to talk about it again. Because again, these aren't salespeople. These are your customers. These are just regular people. They've got other things to do. If they get one or two negative feedback, they're just not gonna. They're gonna stop talking about solar. That's what's gonna happen. And then that dies, that relationship and that potential. And then it's hard because you can activate those people. I've done it before, but once they've already seen, oh well, I've tried to talk about it, doesn't make sense. Like they're just.
It didn't work for me, and I don't want to. No one wants rejection,
Yeah,
right?
no
So if
one
they
wants-
feel rejection once, it could be just one time, and then they're
Exactly.
like, I'm not going to start calling all these people.
Yeah, so these little tips and tricks are really there for a reason, because you're preparing them. Because sometimes it depends on who I'm talking to. If it's like some guy who's got a little bit of ego, I'll be like, oh yeah, they're gonna hit you. I'll even kind of like make it seem like it's gonna be a big challenge, and then they kind of rises to the occasion. I'm a sales guy. I've been selling my whole life. I could sell these people. You know what I'm saying? They start kind of building up themselves, and you're like, oh yeah. But a lot of people, I'll tell them about it, and I'll just say, hey, look, and if they have any questions or concerns that you're not 100% sure how to deal with, just, call me and ask me, or say, hey, you know what? How about talk to Jonathan? He can help answer that question for you. Is it okay if I put you in a group text message with him? It's like everything leads to the same thing. Everything leads to group text. I don't care if you're a great salesperson or not. If you're working with me in my organization, that's the first script that you learn is, oh, hey, is it cool if I put you in a group text message with Jonathan, let him answer that for you? It's like you need every referral partner needs to, because here's the thing. I'll have referral partners that they'll say, oh yeah, I want to tell people. And then a couple days later, I get a phone number and a name texted to my phone. And an unexperienced rep would be like, oh, wow, I just got a referral. Are you kidding me? I just got a name and a number. This is amazing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm over here like, this guy's not following the system. That's like, and
Or the homeowner didn't listen to instructions.
Yeah, they're not following my instructions, right? And it's important because, and I'll even say back to him, I'll say, oh, hey, awesome. Thanks for this name and a number. Can you tell me a little bit more about it? Can you give me some context, or I'll call them? And then they'll say, hey, this and this, and they'll give you some context. Okay, fine. And then I'll call them at that point. But then
or you say, hey, would you mind putting me in a group text with this person?
Yes, exactly. Circle back, but the point is you want to make sure you kind of coach your people to put you in group text, because they're not going to listen. They're going to go, oh, well, here's a name and a number, Jonathan. I talked to her and she's ready to go. Just give her a call. And you're like, hey, I appreciate that, but if you could please put me in a group text with her, it's like, yeah, because if they don't, you're just going to find that people aren't as accountable to you. There's no reason. There's nobody that's, if they have to respond because their friend or family that referred you off that text thread,
it's social pressure, right? Because they're like, hey, so-and-so just put their name and reputation on the line for me to talk to so-and-so. Even if I don't want to make my friend look bad. So I'll at least respond and get on the phone and talk.
Yeah, exactly. It dramatically increases the amount of conversations you're going to be having. And that's the key, as we know in sales, is how many conversations a day are you having, whether it's on the phone, in person, whatever it is. Sales conversations is a key metric. And so this was hack number one, if you will, going, okay, how do I coach up my clients, make sure they're putting me in group text messages, make sure that they're, prepared for a little bit of resistance in the market, and then hand them off to me as easily as possible, so I can just have more conversations a day. So That's real fundamental first steps. And then, yeah, there's more
Real
advanced
quick,
stuff.
follow-up question on that first step. So when you're asking them for referrals, right? You're calling them. I mean, maybe you're there on the day of install. Maybe you can't be there. So at least you're going to make a phone call. Hey, how's it going with the installation? Then you're going to go through your referral pitch. Hey, we have this promotion and you're actually going to get $100 if you refer me 5 people today. We're not going to reach out to them until your installation's complete. If you can give me those 5 numbers. Okay, well, Jonathan, I can't do anything today, or I got to think about it, or I'm not sure, but I can get it to you. You're trying to get them to give you numbers right there on the spot, like right there.
That's where you tie it to. You say, hey, I have to submit these 5 names and numbers to corporate before the end of the business day, before they complete your installation, because it's actually tied to your install. And they just released this promotion. Otherwise, I would have told you about it sooner, kind of thing. So I'll say this. Then I'll say, how about this? Like, you're busy at the moment. I'll send you a digital version of the referral card, and you can fill that out for me and respond to it by the end of today. So we can get you that extra $100. It's free $100, easy money. And then they're like, oh,
what's
cool,
the percentage of homeowners that actually fill that out and send it over?
About 1/3.
Okay.
That's right. That's where I say you can increase the conversions from about 5% to about
30%.
30%, because about 1/3 of people will do that to get that extra money. And here's the thing too, a lot of those people, and I would say there's probably even more than 1/3 of people that would want to refer you if you did a decent job in the sale for them. They want to refer you. And I always tell people this when they're doing referrals. It's not that people don't want to refer you. It's that they don't have a clear way to refer you. That, like, it's easy. Like, it's just, it's like there's so many other distractions and top of mind things. So, like, for instance, when I'm activating a referral partner, I'm doing that over the phone. And I'm kind of like, telling them, leave a service, how you doing, check in report, and then go into promotion. When I go into that promotional offer piece, I'm like taking it as far as I can, if that makes sense. So what I'll do is, like, I'll tell them, and then sometimes they'll just be like, cool, yeah, you know what? I'll keep that in mind. Thanks, have a great day. Like, okay, they're probably not going to send me anybody. Like, they're just trying to be polite, and like, they're listening to me. Yeah, so I got off a pitch, but the thing is you have to pitch just like anything else. You have to pitch everyone, and not everyone's going to be a buyer, right? And so if you can if you're pitching every single person your referral program consistently, then if you're a decent closer, you're going to have at least a 30% close ratio, because that's the sale. There's 2 sales. There's the sale, and there's the referral sales. So you have to treat it at that level, and you have to be pitching it. So for me, I have a minimum of 2 pitches a day as just like a simple, benchmark. So I have at least 2 customers from my past at some point that I haven't talked to in however long. And I'll just sometimes pick them at random and just be like, you know what, let me just call through my list, and I'll call 5 or 6 people and get a hold of 1 or 2. Okay, boom. I got a hold of them. I do the same formula: service, rapport, here's a promotional offer. And then sometimes I'll say that, and then they'll kind of pause. They'll be like, oh yeah, you know what? It's been a while, but I did talk to one of my coworkers a long time ago about it, and blah, blah, blah. And then I'm kind of like fishing a little bit, and I'll say, okay, cool. So here's what I would do if I were you. I'm kind of like strategizing with them at this point. Here's what I would do. Next time you see them, just tell them, hey, remember that solar program? They're actually running a promotion right now. They're covering your first 6 months of Powur. Is it cool if I put you in a group text message with Jonathan and let him explain a little bit more about it? Just like giving them scripting. Like, that's basic scripting. And so I'm constantly, it's funny, now that I do that professionally as a coach, but also as like a seller, I'm constantly scripting people on what to say. And that's what you need to be doing with your ambassadors.
I love that, man. I was always taught, one of my sales mentors back in the day, Greg Barker, ADT sales, and we'd go there into the home and we were closing deals, and he was really pounding us on getting referrals. And he goes, look, you just spent an hour 20 with the homeowner, kitchen table, building rapport. They've given you their social and their credit cards and signed a contract, and you're protecting their home and family and peace of mind. He was like, spend 5 freaking minutes at the end to get some referrals. You're right there. Go right there. And he said, listen, you already closed them on the deal. don't just say, hey, I love referrals. Do you have any referrals for me, or can you refer me somebody? And they go, okay, I'll get to it. And then you're like, okay, great, I did that part. It's like
Right.
you have to work it. It's
You
another
have to
sale.
follow it
It's
up.
it's an absolute another sale that you have to work and grind and get down to the bottom of it. And
Yeah.
there's gold in them hills.
There's
And
gold.
it's like the best. It's like the best
And
gold you can
it's so
get too.
amazing because they're not only, referrals for me, I convert at about 70%, but most people 50 to 70%. I know some people who convert at 90%, off referrals, but you can't,
You're looking at them.
yeah, exactly. 90%. So it's like, if you can do 90%, like that's incredible off of referrals. And, it's like, I've had times where I'm like 80. I don't think I've ever been at 90, like 70, 80%. That's kind of like the
It's
zone I'm in.
phenomenal.
And it's great. And you can charge higher margins, you can make a little bit better. You don't have to like be, scraping the bottom of the barrel every single time. So, it's just the best way to build. And yeah, anyways, I'm excited to be in this new phase, bro, where I'm able to coach, I'm able to, do this, professionally with other companies and organizations, like help them implement some of these systems. And yeah, I mean, there'll definitely be more content stuff I'm putting out here, in the near future, just trying to add value to the industry. And I love what you're doing with the podcast, trying to add value to other reps. And I'm following after you, man. Like, I'm truly a student of the virtual game. I don't know it. Like, you are giving me some insights. And so, yeah, dude, I'm trying to figure out how the heck do I build like everything virtual, So that's where I'm at.
Well, I love that, man. And we're going to be working together, and I'll definitely get a game you up on the virtual side, because you can literally apply everything that you said, just talked about.
Hmm.
You can do it virtually,
I think so.
right?
Yeah, I've
You
done a little bit, but not
yeah.
like
Well, hey, when we were at SolarCon, I mean, I was so proud of you. You were over at the booth in the back during the convention, and I was walking over there, and there, Mike was like, oh yeah, Jonathan's on a call with a client, and you had your Zoom on, and you were going through your pitch, and then I remember at the end I was like, did you get it? You're like, yeah, he had to go or something like that. He had to bail right at the end, and that's like the worst, right? You're on a presentation.
we're still working on that guy. He's been shopping with a couple other
Oh,
providers, and he's kind of stringing us along. But yeah, I'm
but
trying to.
you were doing it though. You were doing it virtually, and I was like, man, that is so freaking cool. And so you've done most of your work has been in person. I mean, door to door, going to, I mean, you mentioned you go to the install, which that's all, we always preach, go to your installs, because that's when you're going to get your referrals. It's easy.
Yeah.
It's when you're going to cloverleaf the homeowners. But, you can definitely, like me personally, I'm in North Idaho. Most of my clients are in California, or they're in Florida, or they're in the Carolinas, or in Texas. I'm not there, but I should be calling them day of
Yeah.
installation, right?
You
And I
know
can
what?
go through this and offer this promotion. I mean, it's no different.
I just got this takeaway, and this could apply for you. I got this from Brent Attaway over at CRMX. He gave a lot of really good strategies. So we had a Solarpreneur podcast, had their first live event. So Taylor Armstrong, and they did a solar referral boot camp on Wednesday, the day before SolarCon. It was awesome. We were speaking at this aquarium with the shark tank behind us, and it was a cool venue, and everyone was talking about referrals. But one of the strategies that I got from Brent was incredible. And I'm going to start doing this right away. He said that he found if you mail out, like snail mail out, a envelope with $500 cash redeemable gift cards that they can hand to their friends and family, that gives them $500 cash back, rebate on their system when they sign up with you. And I thought that was
Ooh.
clever, because it's like a gift card. It's something that we're used to and associated with that holds value. And it is
Mm.
$500 of redeemable value when they, sit with you to go, look at doing solar. And I'm like, that's amazing. I'm going to start doing that right away, because it's the small little hacks where people, like, ultimately they're going to refer you because they trust you, right? But it's really it's like, look, let's just assume that you're a good salesperson, you're doing ethical business, and people trust you. Then it becomes, how do you make as many customers as possible able to refer you as easy as possible? Where there's low resistance, they're not having to be some weird salesperson. They can give value to their friends and family. They can give a promotional offer. They can give something that's going to help their friends and family out. Now they're not some salesperson. They're just there to like share a great product and service that we do all the time. So anyways, yeah, those are some like quick tips, and that's
Some of my favorite referrals, and the ones that blow me away, is when a project just went sideways, took forever, bad installation, like something happened, the installer was on the roof smoking weed, you get a phone. I mean, like, you're like, this is a fucking nightmare of a project.
yes.
And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, I have a referral for you. I'm like, are you serious? Those ones blow my mind. And I'll tell you why it is. Because look, we're in construction, shit happens. Nothing goes as smooth as possible. I mean, there's always going to be some sort of hiccup, some more than others, but it's how you handle it, right? As being the professional. If you are the liaison between them and customer service, and you answer their calls, and you say, and make sure, hey, everything's going to be good. Listen, I know this wasn't ideal, but you take care of it. You instill so much trust in them, and they know, like, hey, listen. And I've even had homeowners say, listen, I get it, man. I know this happens sometimes, but you took care of me. And then they can feel confident. It's not like, hey, I'm referring you because I know, you're going to have a shitty experience with this guy, but it's, if the chance of something bad did happen, you're in good hands.
Yeah.
And you could end up in a shitty situation no matter what company that you go with.
Yeah.
And you might not have a sales rep that's going to have your back like Jonathan does, right? Like Jared does. So
no, and
those are the best ones.
And I always tell people too, like, if you're going to be a really great referral business person, you have to be a high integrity, accountable individual, because you're going to have bad situations. Now, if you're just knocking on a door and you burn somebody, well, there's always another door you can go knock, and I hate to say it, but that's a lot of what's caused issues in our industry, is that, you can't just go knock another door and say, well, sorry, it didn't work out for them. But when you're doing referrals, you are going to have to deal with more customer service issues by the nature of you being present for when issues do come up. And so you will have to be prepared for that. But Tony Robbins taught me this in 2015. He said the number one time to create a raving fan customer is at the peak of their disappointment. And I was like, man, that's so good. Like, it's just what you said. Like,
so powerful.
When you're literally able to be there, like, I am actually ready for this call. I've got a couple I got to go out to and kind of problem solve a few like issues, and it's not terrible stuff, just different issues with billing and things like that. And really just like showing up. Like, I volunteered to go to both of these people's houses, and that's going to take time out of my day, energy, but it's going to be like, I'm going to show up for them and, like, see what I can do to problem solve. I don't know if I'm going to be able to solve the problem or not. That's always kind of a scary thing. But it's when you keep showing up like that, you're 100% right. Some of my best referral partners, I always say, like, in a perfect world, something will go mildly wrong, and then I'll get to be the hero and save the day and then get a bunch of referrals from it. That's a perfect scenario, right? But in reality, you don't really, if a customer has zero issues and it's super smooth, sometimes, like, I found that they don't have, I don't know what it is. Like, they don't refer me as much. I'm not 100% sure why. It's almost like maybe there's no, I don't know what it is, but if the things go catastrophically sideways, obviously that's hard to recover from. I mean, not that I haven't had it happen, but whenever things like, when there's just like mild to moderate issues that we're able to solve and, we're able to figure it out, then the customers see that and they're like, well, I can trust Jonathan to like stick around and solve these problems even after he's paid his money or he's, on to the next. Anyways, man. Yeah.
Such good stuff, dude.
Yeah.
Incredible, man. Well, dude, I can't believe we've already been doing this podcast for an hour 15.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I gotta hop off in a bit. I don't know how much time we have,
no, dude. Hey, we can wrap this up. I mean, you've provided tremendous amount of value for our listeners. I'm excited because I know there are, there's a lot of people that listen to this podcast in the hopes of becoming a virtual solar pro. Excuse me. And this right here, people ask all the freaking time. It's like, how can I get off the doors? How can I get off the doors? Like, how can I start selling virtual? And their first thought is like, oh, I got to learn online lead gen. And dude, online lead gen sucks. Some people are better than others. Some people can figure it out. You really have to have systems in place and a good CRM and a drip systems and follow-ups and a freaking call center in the Philippines. And to nurture these leads, it's not easy.
Yep.
But you literally just laid out a game plan that any of you guys that are out there who've been knocking on doors, you already have a book of business, you already have customers to go call. You could literally start today and call these customers and implement Jonathan's referral methods and pull off these referrals and start, doing group text messages and offering a promotion, and then start selling these projects on Zoom. And if you don't know how to do that, partner with a mentor that knows how to do it. Holler at me, right?
Jared,
so it's like, I'll show you the way.
Well, that's exactly. I'll just jump in and say, here's what I would say. I do this with my paid coaching clients. It's the same thing I'll say for free, is do 2 customers a day for 5 days a week. Just set a number of 10 a week to start, or even 5, but just 10. It's not that hard. These are like the best customer calls you're going to have of the week, because they already have you. They're already happy for the most part, right? Maybe they have an issue. Okay, don't be afraid of the issue. Face it, whatever it is, figure out how to solve it for them if you can. But just show up, be there, have 10 conversations, this next week, and start to watch how you'll get some momentum. And then whenever you get some momentum with somebody, reinvest back into them. I always say, it's like, if you have a top salesperson on your team, you would take them to dinner, right?
100%.
Yeah, if you had a top salesperson that was bringing you money, putting food on your family's table, you might buy him a nice pair of shoes, right? Because you like them. I used to have my card stacked with Nikes, dude. Literally.
I was going to say real quick, shout out to Sungage for taking us, the top sales reps, out to STK at SolarCon and treating us to a fantastic dinner. So yeah, it's all about taking out your top sales reps and taking good care of them.
Take care of your people, and then they take care of you, and it's just such a rewarding thing. It's like, if you can have a business, I'll be honest, I haven't done crazy numbers, but I've done 30 to 40 installs consistently per year, 100% referral based. My best year was 47 installs, and in the California market, averaging about 7K per deal. So had a couple 100K a year is about what I've been floating around for a while. And so it's like, but that's all off referrals. And honestly, every year that usually comes from 3 to 5 people. 3 to 5 people, that's it. So it's like, the numbers it sounds kind of crazy. It doesn't take a ton of people to do this. You can do this with very little. And so anyways, I'm going to be sharing more, nuggets and stuff like that. Anyone who's listening, you can find me on Jonathan Charles Wilson, every social media, outlet. And
perfect. I was just about to say, how can people find you if they want to connect with you? Yeah, drop your socials.
Yeah, Jonathan Charles Wilson. That's when I'm out on everything. It's super boring, but that's easy to find. Yeah, I'm going to be sharing more content. My goal this year is just to really deliver this value and some of these tips and tricks to as many people in solar and beyond. But solar is a good start, because if we can help people generate an extra 6 figures this year just on referral-based business, everybody wins. So,
a freaking man. Jonathan Charles Wilson, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate you coming on the podcast, dude, and I look forward to having you back on again.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate your time.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Hey, guys. Thanks for tuning into this episode. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. You can also follow me on the socials, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. All those links will be listed below. Now, if you're looking to get started on the path to selling solar virtually, look no further than Powur. Powur is a decentralized solar platform that gives you the ability to sell 100% virtually in 25 plus states and growing. Their platform gives you the advantage to offer your clients a variety of different panels, inverters, roofs, batteries, and even EV chargers. Brands include Enphase, SolarEdge, Tesla, Franklin, and Span Smart Panels. Powur offers multiple zero-down financing options, including loans, PPAs, and leases. And with their revolutionary cost of goods sold model, 5 different streams of income, and world-class training, There is nothing else like it in the solar industry. If you're looking to get started, go to powur.com. That's POWUR.com/virtual solar pro/join and start selling solar virtually today.